So I recently helped a client increase their close rate by roughly 7ish or so percent through one of the highest ROI systems I've been installing for pretty much every and any business that I come into contact with, which is a proposal generation system. So in this video, we'll be building it together and leveraging tools that we've been speaking about, such as, agentic ones, Claude Code, Codex to, well, generate yourself high-end looking proposals like these that actually live on websites. They're not just, generic PDFs and so on, which can, in a better light, kind of reflect both yours, their brand, and just get it out in a couple of minutes post your call, which is obviously super important when you're selling high-ticket services. So how do we start off with something like this? Well, I put together a couple of, key differences between how you are doing things before or currently. I have seen what proposal hell looks like when it comes down to sitting down at the computer, wasting on your time, just, writing out this, which naturally is an important process, but who wants to, chuck over their entire day on writing proposals when you have templates? And some people definitely do. And people resort to tools such as PandaDoc and so on, where you have these, mustache syntax variables to generate proposals on the fly. But honestly, these don't look the best, and it takes a lot of time to set up templates. And at the end of the day, everyone gets the same document, whereas this just reflects everything in a better light. That meaning, getting to the second point, these ones are soulless. And there are potential errors, like if you don't remember everything, if you don't have a call transcript and so on, or if you just say like, hey, I'll just get it done, tomorrow or something. And then, the deal slips by and everything. But I don't want to sell you on the idea on why this is good. You probably know your struggles if you're, a business owner and trying to write out your proposals, so on. But in short, how would this system function on a kind of high level? We need to have multiple inputs, right? Sometimes you would like a call transcript ideally, and sometimes you just want a manual summary that you can input into a system, a skill within our Claude workspace, and then you'd get banging out from that. After that, you actually have to have the brain of the system, aka you have to have some kind of quote unquote template, aka just, the means to an end on how you want it laid out. You don't want it random. So for example, like an example that I put down here is like where things stand, and then you just compare where they are today, where they want to go. A simple, paragraph on what you're going to be able to do, and then just their problems in a nutshell. After you put down their problems in a nutshell, then you go on into how you're going to fix them. After that, it's a scope of timeline, what exact timeline, and this can look exactly how you want it to. It's just very important that you have, well, a format that this is going to follow. And then, perhaps even, tool costs that it's going to run by them and what is their investment going to be. And you can even integrate this with some kind of tool, which we'll get on ahead. But after you have a proposal template and your tone of voice specifically within the system, we're going to be generating a skill nowadays within, Claude Code, which we did, and publishing this to some kind of hosting platform where people can actually, open up a website and look at your proposal, a signing platform so that you can actually be legally binded to this, and then you have a ready proposal. So how does this all start off? Well, today we're going to be utilizing Claude Code within anti-gravity. If you're not familiar with Claude Code is nowadays agentic tool, which is a wonderful, thing that you should probably know about, and if you've been following the channel, you'll definitely know about it. But how do you go about setting this wonderful system up that everyone's been talking about? You can just jump into this website right here, so code.claude.com, on a quick start guide, and just take this basically line of code, which sounds scary, but it isn't, depending on your device, whether it be a Windows, a Mac OS, or on a basically homebrew, anything of your line. Copy it and put it in your respective, well, whether it be a CMD or your shell or the Mac OS terminal, basically. Once you got done that and you actually signed up to Claude Pay, like the $20 a month plan, I think is the lowest one, and you can have Claude Code on there, you're good to run. Outside of that, if you want to work in a workspace like this, I did show it off in one of the previous videos, but in short, you can just go to websites called Anti-Gravity. This is Google's IDE, aka this little device platform that you work within. And or you can go to Visual Studio, which is also one of the older ones, one of the forefathers of code organizing in general, and just take it out from there. Now, to not take more of the time, let's just jump straight into the build. How is this going to go? Well, we just said we have two multiple inputs. We have, we have to want to have call transcripts, and we have to want to have manual summaries. So if we jump into here, and if we have, our Claude MD set up correctly on our workspace, we can just start speaking ahead. So, hey there, I want to create a new skill for the workspace, which is going to be able to generate proposals for me in websites. So essentially, it should be able to take in my call transcripts. I utilize Fathom, and it can take in my own word input, such as this. After that, it should create a beautiful, basically kind of landing page / proposal for the lead, where they can also sign ideally through some kind of software later down the line that we can implement. You should avoid any and every AI pattern for generating websites, and you should be able to create 3 different modes for this. So one where we just reflect my brand, another mode where we reflect their brand, and a third mode where we actually combine the 2 brands together and their colors and pretty much every and any style of it, so that we can kind of reflect a more professional partnership. The outline, aka the template of the proposal, should look something along the lines of, so first you should address where they are currently, where they want to be. Then what am I going to help with in a short sentence? Then a couple of bulleted numbered list points on exactly their problem, diving deep into whatever their problem is. After that, we should also have a couple of bullet points on how I'm going to solve it, with 2 different pricing tables below, one for the tools that it's actually going to cost to run a service like this on their infrastructure, and one for, in general, my own pricing. After that, they should have simple steps to figure out on, step 1 would be sign the document, step 2, pay the invoice, and step 3 is like, we get on to working. In terms of taking the typography, it should be very professional, sleek, not using anything basic, but not going too over the top. Let me know a couple of ideas that you have. I would love to connect Fathom's MCP to this, as well as potentially further down the line, we can figure out a signing document process such as DocuSign or just some kind of Canva template. We don't have to increase or include this in the first run. And this was hefty. I know you just listened to me yap into the microphone, but this is the gist. Now we actually let it just run in plan mode, and it's going to be, well, planning out things. And if you didn't understand a couple of methods that I input there in terms of like MCPs, if you don't know what MCPs are, they're basically ways for LLMs, aka these models, to be integrated with other tools such as, Bright Data or ConeVC. And this website that I'm showing over here is called mcpservice.org. It has it's kind of like a big database and nesting for all of these different MCPs across the internet. And naturally, you have to be careful, like I say, with all my builds when it comes down to these specifically. You wouldn't want to trust every and anyone out here because people tend to put malicious ones in there. But when you see official, you should be pretty safe. So whatever your meeting summarizer may be, whether it be Fathom, Fireflies, or so on, like I've been able to Google them here, you can just type in Fathom, for example, and then it's going to run it by you. It's going to figure out this official one. You can click on it. And if you want to help this system kind of run better, you can just take this. Zero config works immediately. This is something that the developers put together. You just copy this. And for example, if I want to shortcut my way, I can just say, hey, this is Fathom's MCP. Feel free to, include this in your plan. And then we just let it run. We give it, and then it's going to actually be reading through the entire workspace and letting us know exactly how we're going to generate it. So it's going to be definitely working on its own accord, but just for a couple of different notes, since we have generated tons of different websites in here already through different videos, it's probably going to take some ideas. But if you want your own templates to be identical basically to the websites that you generate, you can just take your pre-existing template, whether it be from PandaDoc and so on, and just tell it, or whatever platform you use, and just go on to a website. It's called godly.websites. And then you can take whatever design you'd like, essentially, whatever typography you'd like. So if you like, something like, this, wow, that's a beautiful website. So something, kind of poppy and comic book style-y graffiti, then you can take that and just take a screenshot and paste it into Claude's terminal and say, hey, I would love this typography, this type of look for the proposals and so on. If you like this, then you can go by that. Or if you have any other website on your mind, you can just do the exact same thing, and it's going to be able to know exactly what you want. But yeah, this is pretty much going to be spinning up any kind of ideas over here, and since it is going to take some time, I'm just going to get back to you as soon as this, gets ready with some ideas. And another thing that I forgot to tell it is hey, I also want this to be hosted on Vercel. I don't just want this to be like an HTML template, so we need to be able to upload it. Feel free to ask me whatever we need to give you, and I'll give you that. So that's another point actually that I didn't make, is we're going to have to upload this actually to some kind of hosting website, and we don't want to actually go into our DNS and change that and do slugs and all that. And what are we going to do? We're going to go to a tool such as Vercel. If you never heard of Vercel, it's just a hosting platform, one of the most popular ones out there, where you can just jump in, authenticate it, and publish your projects, similar to Netlify like we did on the website builds. And pretty much the same gist. You can do this on Netlify, but Vercel is kind of the better part in here. And also, while I'm on here, kind of to summarize why this is even low hanging fruits, like if your close rate is, for example, 23% already, with like the best, you've gotten your pricing really tight, and in general you know where you're heading with the business. And if we can increase this by even a couple of percent, like as again said, at least 7%, because you get your proposals out quicker, B, you actually reflect everything, and C, you just look way more professional than just, checking out a document. And that's realistically both time saved, and it looks way more professional on that. And so if we manage to increase it by even 7%, which is, in the short term, you can definitely get that up by more, depending on, well, if you rock out your service and so on, and how quick you are with it and how in depth. But this basically just increased the business's close rate by what? By like 30 or something percent, like looking, or we grew the business by that much in terms of like reflecting the size of from this jump to that jump. I mean, that's the lowest hanging fruit you can get outside of having a really really good product, or just improving margins way further down the line. So exactly, these are the type of bills that you can absolutely live on, basically. And you should always be looking at opportunities when it comes down to like, hey, where can I automate something that is not super sensitive and it's not gonna kill me if it gets it wrong, which definitely doesn't in nowadays? And where can I save the most time? Because this knocks out two birds with one stone, right? Outside of just saving you time, it also saves you and generates you money, which is kind of the best point you can have AI and automation in. But yeah, that was just a quick point I wanted to make. I'm gonna let it, spin up. Oh, it already did. So what's stack? Static HTML, CSS, JS. So yeah, here's just saying like what type of tool stack we want, as we spoke over as well. It's like, do we want it to be like super cool or the same stack as the website builder? Because sure, I want to go super premium. Let's go super premium. With structural layout, editorial, scroll. Yeah, it should be like a scroll. So basically it's asking like it goes from top to bottom. What typography model? So let's do this. So it's kind of, Francis and Inter. Sure. Go ahead, buddy. Do whatever you basically like. We can change it however many times we'd like. If we don't like the typography, we can just jump in again, said copy every single and any one website that we like, and just say, hey, I really like this type of font. Let's do that type of font, or Gumroads even, so on and so on. So the sky's the limit here. I'm gonna let it spin and then get back to you as soon as possible. So right now it's asking naturally, as each and every app is, you need an API token to actually generate. So I'll just add a Vercel token to env.now. That's fine. And now it's asking me what it wants the URL pattern to be. Okay, what's this little proposal is going to be like the bar name, which is, it's fine. Lead slug proposal Vercel.app. You can basically tell it whatever you want, but that's completely fine. So that's fine. Now, how are you going to generate your Vercel token? You're going to jump into your Vercel account once you set it up. It's completely free. You jump into your settings, into tokens, and over here you actually create a new token. So it's like, I don't know, CC demo. We select the scope, just give it a full account. It's completely fine. And then, set your day, like no expiration and so on, like whenever you want. I'm just going to set it to a day, and we're going to create this. We're going to copy this variable. We're going to jump into our .env file, which is the file which holds all your API keys. You just assign a variable, name it Vercel _token, just like Claude said, and just paste it in and, copy or save. By holding Control S. Not sure how it is on Mac, probably, the same kind of stuff, but it's pretty much it. Then we're still gonna let it bang out over here at the ideas. Didn't ask anything else in between. It's just using a lot of different, read functionalities. You must understand that when Claude Code, every time you try and generate a new skill within Claude Code, it's going to go through your entire workspace over here to try and find similar things to it, because that's the easiest path to go. So if you already have something similar, like where you have websites or any kind of ideas that you want, it's going to definitely pick up from that. If you don't have anything that you're going to have to provide, as much context that you can give it, the better for you. So yeah, in terms of that, it's still going to keep on building. So I'm just going to keep on waiting. Okay, so it just got done. The only thing that I actually had to go in and change is I forgot that a really cool addition to a proposal would be if you actually grab both kind of logos of the businesses and kind of put them together in a monochromatic or a more kind of whitish tone. So that's the only input I had in here. Outside of that, I just went ahead and built everything. So, and now it's asking for a test run. Let's do it. So, all right, let's do a, just pure manual input voice text run. It's between, Apple and me. And I am trying to rebuild their entire CRM from the ground up. They're currently losing a lot of leads by not following up correctly, not having automated email sequences in place, as well as not getting quotes in front of their prospects as soon as humanly possible. Outside of that, they also need help with SOPing and so on, but that wasn't really the key point of the call. So we can have two different types of offers and or types of services. One package would be just the CRM edition, which will be roughly, 20,000 bucks. And the edition with the SOP handling is going to bump the price up to, 2,500. Or my bad, 25,000. And let's see how this runs essentially. I gave it super, super like shallow context on here, so I don't expect anything revolutionary, but it's the point of concept. We need to, it's the proof of concept actually. We just want to see how it's going to generate, and now it's definitely going to take its time to generate, since you know how we chose those different styles that we're going to run by. Well, it was kind of the same principle that we did for the website builder, aka it has a lot of different references and a lot of different just code that is going to utilize. So it's going to look pretty sleek, and honestly, if you want faster proposals, I'd just go with the HTML CSS route. You're going to get the same results pretty much. I just kind of want it to be flashy, but outside of that, I'll just let it run its own thing, and then we can, generate it based off of that. Also, in addition to this is like, make it in all three variants. So let me see it both in just my brand tones, in just Apple's brand tone, and then combine them. So I'm going to pump that in. I'm just going to let that run as well. I want to show you the guys kind of, as well, what are the different types of this brand tone that can look like, just, in that regard. So I'll get back to you as soon as this finishes, spinning up here. So it just got done spinning up, and it actually gave me the links where they live at, and I just jump in. As you can see, across the three different brands, because across the videos we actually been generating websites, and it picked up like my website from this workspace, which is not accurate. We did like a beige color for me. So here are the three different ones. As you can see, it's not a big of a two difference, because Apple's and the ones that I've generated for my own business in here are super similar, so you can't really get a mix on there. If you'd like, you can also integrate whatever you basically want, but this is how it looks like essentially. Apple, rebuild your CRM around the moment to lead the sites, instant follow-ups, automatic sequence quotes and hours. Also, being completely real, going back to the whimsical, we also mentioned that tone of voice is very important. So if you don't like the tone of voice that it produces, you can just jump back into here and say, hey, definitely don't like that, so let's do X, Y, and Z. But as you can see where you are, and then you basically quote what they have even said on the call, that's also possible, where you want to be, and then rebuilding your CRM around the moment, and then basically their problems, and then they list out the problems. How do I solve it? And then exactly what you're going to do. What's their investment going to look like? So in terms of like, make.com, OpenAI, whatever tools you guys use to, if you're building out websites, perhaps, Wix or any kind of infrastructure that you're living on there. And then exactly the fee for the build, it's 2,000 plus 5,000 included, and over support, and then, a payment link. Now, how do you actually go about, because that's the big thing here. This is very, very, very just off the cuff. How do you go about implementing and even bettering this type of system? That's even a word. How do you go about, improving the system? Well, first and foremost, you can have a signing thing. So you have to actually be legally binding to this. So how do you do that? Again, said you can either go to DocuSeal or anything along these lines. That's like this platform, Canva documents, or even they mention it over DocuSign, PandaDoc, all of these exist, and just tell it to wire it up for you. Of course, you're gonna have to be paying just a tad bit more for, like, I think DocuSeal is like 15 bucks a month, which is, in comparison to the other tools that do everything for you, super cheap. You can basically get away with it for nothing. And in terms of that, if you want to change up like the formatting and how it looks like, you can by certain means do so, whether you want, and say like, hey, instead of it looking like this in terms of like timelines, I'd love for you to implement a timeline over here, which is going to go from left to right or not up to down, and pretty much it. Sky's the limit here. This is kind of just the 80-20 on how you get yourself to do this. Of course, all of the skills that are all of these skills that we just generated along this video are going to be down in the description of the video in any way, shape, and form, like all of these videos. So no worries whether you want to build along with me on this video or you just want to take that and push them in. Actually, a matter of fact, now that I think of it, I'll actually pull the last skills for the website builder, like the 10 different aesthetic types, and also put that down for you guys below so that you can actually have a couple of different templates that you want to go around if you don't want to fetch your own websites and figure out your own say aesthetic tone. But don't want to take up too much of your time today. That was pretty much it. I hope I kind of got you closer to understanding on how you can leverage these tools to alleviate pressure in different types of business formats. Like, this is basically super, super low hanging fruit you can always implement. But yeah, in terms of that, if you also have any kind of wish to work or just hear me out in my advice if on types of these builds, feel free to schedule a call below on the link. And in terms of like business owner, ideally we'd get to work together one day on these projects if that makes sense. But in any way, shape, and form, I'm completely open to giving any advice privately through the link. So feel free to go out, grab a slot if you're, having an issue with these projects. And that's the first and only pitch of this video, like I always say. So if this all made sense, I hope I helped you in any way, shape, and form. I'm super stoked to keep on helping like these videos. And of course, another super simple self-insert, like if you like this video, feel free to drop a like below and do all the cool YouTube stuff like hitting that bell notification and subscribing. So it would help me, kind of grow the channel and even skyrocket with more and just give you guys more info and data upon this. But yeah, this all made sense. I hope you guys have a stellar rest of your week ahead, and it's just been able to start. You take care of yourself, and I'll get to see you in the next video. Okay, gotcha. Thanks. Bye bye.